Hey, it's Chris again. Welcome back to another Divorce Dad Thoughts. Uh, I'm in the shade, but it's bright out here, and I'm a sweaty, dirty mess. Been doing yard work. As you can tell by the growth behind me, there's a lot of yard work here. That's outside my yard, going down to the water, but still, it's fairly similar. There's a lot of yard work here. Um, Anyways, been thinking a little bit. The more time I spend around my granddaughter one on one, we have some really good talks, and her and I we cross we cross over into conversations that need to be had. That I know from my own experience, a lot of times kids don't want to have that conversation with mom and dad, or don't know how to have it with mom or dad. Um, from a kid's standpoint, I didn't know how to have those conversations. And from a parent standpoint, a lot of times we were in denial, not thinking that it even needed to be brought up or that it was a real issue. That being said, my granddaughter and I have talked about anything and everything there is. There's certain things that I learned from my dad as well as my mom that they can talk to my daughter about that I can't. There's conversations that they have life experiences that I have never had. And, sometimes it skips a generation, and that's a good thing that there are multiple generations and there's a village helping to raise that child. Um, and the more I do this and the more conversations I have with my grandkids, it helps me learn more about myself and about who I want to be. And more than anything, it helps me learn how to communicate with my own kids, even though they're grown. I don't have a fear of letting them down per se. Uh, as a parent, a young parent, there was conversations that need to happen, and they need to be stern. And you worry: did I go too far? Am I pushing my child away? Am I too mean to my child? Things like that. And you don't always address them the right way because you don't want to push your child away. You want to be their hero. You want to be the favorite. And bottom line is, you're going to be, no matter how stern you are. But as a parent, it's tough to know those things. And as a grandparent, learning when I can and can't have those conversations, um, it's opening things up. I I know more about how to have those conversations, the tough conversations, and the good conversations. We'll have conversations that go anywhere from religion to, I don't want to say politics because she still doesn't quite understand what politics is, or what they are. And my youngest grandbaby doesn't know it all, so we'll have those conversations another day. But uh, the conversations are everywhere, and the conversations don't always play out during that conversation. There's not always a final answer or the full thought that gets across, and that's okay. Um, just keep having the conversations. I've said this before, that a lot of what I'm learning and what I'm sharing, I've learned from other people. I've told you about sitting and peeling an orange with my granddaughter. Well, the basis of that comes from spending time with my uncle. No matter what, he would grab an orange, and every time he goes to peel it, he would roll it and roll it in his hands, kind of softening it up. Says it makes it easier to peel. I don't know if it is or it isn't. It's just a habit. And so from there, when the oranges are ripe in my backyard, I'm looking over there as if they are, but they're green. There's a couple yellow ones, but for right now they're green. But when the oranges are ripe, my granddaughter and I will pick an orange, and we'll sit here and we'll peel it together, and we'll have conversations. And it gives me a sense of meaning. It gives me meaning in my life. gives me a sense of pride knowing that she's coming to me because she relies on this. I mean, 2 or 3 days ago, she asked me, how come we haven't peeled an orange? Well, they're not ripe. It's not season. But, she doesn't understand that quite yet. She's getting it. She's pretty smart in a lot of ways. But she's only 6. I can't expect her to know everything. And then I'm amazed when I look over at my youngest granddaughter, Harley, and yeah, she looks like, she's a little person already. She's only 2 and she's running around, and my goodness, it's not going to be very long before her and I are having orange conversations and, talking about life in general. I come from a split home, and there's a lot of positives and negatives coming from a split home. 2 Christmases, for one. My granddaughter comes from a split home. One of my granddaughters is from a split home, and she is surrounded by love. So there's a positive. There's not a lot of negative there for her. My youngest granddaughter is definitely in a home with mom and dad, and there's a lot of love there. Because my household split as well. My daughter comes from a split home. My daughters are spoiled rotten. Multiple grandmas, multiple grandpas. It's a good thing. And these are some of the things that I continue to learn. I continue to learn how to communicate better. I continue to learn how to talk to God. I've always been on the fence and not knowing what's right or wrong, and not knowing what's real. I don't know much about the Bible, religion in general. I was always kind of a rebellious teenager against it. It was a book, but then once I had kids, it was a comfort knowing that there was something or someone out there besides myself that was looking out for my children. It carries on with my grandkids, but now I'm at a point where I've started to develop a relationship, and I've started to have conversations with God. I've started to become more and more thankful for the family that I have, that my parents are healthy, that my kids and my grandkids are healthy and looked out for. My daughter's family is several states away, so all the help I can get from God to make sure that they're safe, I'm gonna take it. As a parent, you always want to protect your children, but you can't always do it. And knowing that there's someone else looking out for them is a little bit of peace of mind, a little bit of comfort. Well, it's a lot of peace of mind. So yeah, I've had better conversations. I've turned around and I've thanked God mostly for my wife. And my wife has led me to a life that I dreamed about. I didn't think was exactly possible. We aren't, how do I say this? We aren't, extremely wealthy, but we are not poor, and we have a good life. And these are things that I didn't really grow up thinking that I deserved. And I was always told I was capable of anything and I could do anything I wanted to, but I didn't believe it. And my wife has me believing in what we do. And the proof is around us. We have a healthy family. We get to take a vacation now and then. We just celebrated our anniversary, which is today, but we celebrated all week long over at the coast. We got to play near the ocean and in the ocean where it was nice and cool while it was hot here. It was 100 degrees here. It was 60 degrees at the ocean. Because of what we do and how hard we work, and because my wife is such a strong soul, we have a good life. I'm a hard worker. I try to do the right thing, but she is definitely the guiding force. Speaker shut off. Guess we're done with yard work for today if the music died. But anyways, the point of this video is to keep talking to your children, to your grandchildren if you have them, and keep learning about yourself. Steal from other people, steal from me, steal from your parents, your grandparents, your neighbor. If it's something worth showing to the younger generation, they're going to make their own mistakes, and you know that. They have to. But you can still try to save them from some of that heartache, especially the young parents. And that's what this is about. I'm learning more about myself and more about communicating with my children and my grandchildren every day. So as always, hug your kids, hug your grandkids if you have them, and give thanks when you can, and share everything that's good. Share what's bad, but definitely share with your children and hope that they don't learn the hard way like you did. All right, that's all I got.